Good evening. We will be conducting this evening's meeting here at City Hall and Council Chambers, as well as virtually using Zoom. Members of the public may view and listen to the meeting tonight on Wave Channel 18 and online through the city's YouTube channel. If you would like to participate in live public comment via the Zoom platform, please refer to the agenda for instructions. Acting Mayor Andreotta will be giving the invocation this evening and will begin the meeting immediately after.
Thank you, Gwen. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. Mayor Joyner and Mayor Pro Tem Carlos Skit could not be here tonight, so it's my honor to sit in the seat and conduct business tonight. Before the invocation, I would ask for a moment of silence. A couple weeks ago, we had an untimely death in the Lincoln family. Brian Button, who worked for our Public Works Department for 19 years, a very valued employee, community member, loved husband and father and grandfather, passed away, and it's been a really difficult couple weeks. And so I would just ask those of you sitting here and watching at home to join me in a moment of silence to remember our friend Brian. Thank you. Heavenly Father, we just lift up this meeting to you tonight. And God, my prayer is simple and quick. Lord, we pray for our colleagues who are not here tonight, that you be with them and you watch over them and bring them back safe and bless their families tonight. Lord, we pray for Brian's family and those who are left here. God, I pray that you give them comfort like only you can, provide for their needs, bring people in their path to love on them and help them through this difficult time of mourning and loss. And Lord, as a community, let us all come together and just rally around them. And I pray for the departments in this city, the Public Works and others who worked with him for so many years. Lord, comfort them as well, because it's a huge loss. And so we ask you to be in the midst of this meeting, help us to govern wisely, and we're going to give you the praise and glory in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. All right, thank you for that. Okay. Call the meeting to order at 6:01. Gwen, roll call, please.
Yes, Councilmember Brown.
Here.
Councilmember Lauritsen.
Here.
Acting Mayor Andreotta.
Here, thank you. We did not have any closed session this evening, so there's nothing to report. If you'll join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Item 5, agenda modifications. When we get to it, we will be continuing item 9A at staff's request. And so we'll talk more about that in a minute. Is there any other agenda modifications from council or from staff? None? Okay, thank you. Then we move on to presentations. So we have a library programming update from Catherine Hunt. The floor is yours, ma'am.
Fantastic. Am I on and working? Brilliant. Thank you so much, Acting Mayor Andreotta, City Council, for giving me a few minutes of your time. I have a brief 70-minute presentation about what we're doing, you know. My name is Catherine Hunt. I am your Director of Library Services, and I do have just a brief update on particularly library programming and events and a few of the major events we've done in this past quarter. I'll go over briefly a few usage statistics, just so you all have an idea of how the library has been used in the past fiscal year at a high level. Give a brief introduction to why we do programming and events at the library, what value that brings to the community as part of the library's portfolio of services, and then highlight 3 of the larger events that we've completed this past quarter. the presentation, you know.
For those of you at home, we're just having a slight technological difficulty at the moment.
Well, while we're waiting for visuals,
Go
because I
ahead.
can describe all of the statistics and the smiling children in the pictures. But I'll move and talk a little bit about why we do programming in the library, because that you don't need the images for. When we talk about programming in the library, we talk about programming and events interchangeably. It is bringing people together for kind of a specific experience. And so one of the things you'll see is that last year we had over 210,000 visits to the library. About 15,000 of those were direct attendance at one of our events. And while that seems like a very small proportion, those events drive that further visitation we see at the library. In fact, we're at 95% of our pre-COVID annual attendance, which is significant compared to many of our libraries in the state who are struggling to bring people back into the building. And I firmly believe one of the reasons why is because of the programs and events we offer. The objective of all of our programming is threefold. One, it's to invite people into the library, whether it's people who haven't come into the library before, or our lives all get busy and sometimes coming into the library is not top of mind. So it's an invitation in. The second is that it should be a learning experience by attending that enriches the lives of our residents. There should be direct benefit and values, and we construct our programming accordingly. And finally, it should connect those residents to further library resources. So in an ideal world, when we throw these events, we're bringing new people in, we're directly improving their lives by coming, and we're helping them see the library as a resource for all of their needs going forward. So with that,
There you go. Perfect.
do it that way.
There you go.
Fantastic.
Oh, you had it. There you go.
All right.
That's good
so
enough.
That's shifted a little bit, but that's okay. I can read the other one. So again, these are some of our high-level statistics usage from fiscal year 2022, 2023. So we saw 210,000 visits. We have about 30,000 active card holders in the library currently. We added 3,700 of those in the past year. We held almost 400 events attended by almost 15,000 attendees. And then our circulation, our checkouts, the stuff going home with people to be enjoyed is actually exceeding our pre-COVID numbers. We had almost 300,000 physical checkouts, which is good. We have about 100,000 items in the library. So mathematically, that means each one went out about 3 times last year. And then we also have the highest digital circulation that I've seen in the 10 years that I've been with the Lincoln Public Library, breaking 50,000. So we're seeing that continue to grow. So the library is being well used. And with that, talking about programs, I'm going to talk about 3 of our major programs. So when I talk about programs and why we do them, the bread and butter of that, the backbone, is actually our regular programs, things that we do every week or every month. These are things like our story times, our book clubs, our teen advisory board. And again, the purpose of these for youth primarily is school support and early literacy. For teens, it's a leadership opportunity, creative problem solving, and giving back to the community. And for our adults, it's building community. We know loneliness can be a real factor for adults of any age, as well as our adult literacy program and building literacy and job skills. But for our big programs that we've done recently, one of the ones we did is summer reading. Summer reading is one of the backbones of libraries across the United States. And so this year we had just over 1,000 participants who read over 7,600 hours, completed over 7,300 activities. Courtesy of our friends of the library, we distributed almost 1,300 books into families and almost 1,000 craft kits. Why we do all that, why we work all year to build this program, and why we have for well over a decade is we want to prevent summer slide. So we know that students, when they don't engage in learning over the summer, they lose the literacy skills that they gained the previous school year. They come back to school behind where they left in the spring. We know that builds year after year. If kids slide one summer, they start further behind the next year, they slide further the next summer, and it continues to build. And we know that it disproportionately affects kids and families who are already facing economic and other challenges. So we build a fun reading log activity-based program to help encourage families and kids to keep engaging in learning activities, preventing that summer slide. We also know for adults continuing to read anytime, but especially during the summer when many of our families' lives change very dramatically, is good. Reading for fun is associated with lower levels of depression, lower levels of stress, higher levels of empathy and connection. And then finally, we want to build home libraries. So there's been a ton of research done recently on the value of having books in the home, to the point where even having 25 books in the home is linked to lifelong increases in academic success, basic literacy, and long-term employment and economic gains. So we know, even outside of education, other factors, having books in the home helps improve all of these outcomes for our youngest families. So with summer reading, courtesy of funding from the Friends, our young students are able to get up to 5 books each summer to add to that home library. So by the time they're at elementary school, they can have those 25 books and keep growing. Part of summer reading is our youth writing contest and our youth literary festival. So this is where we invite young people from the community to submit their writing and short stories for publication. It's driven by our teen advisory board, and it ends with the publication of our anthology, which I do have a copy donated by the Friends for all of our council members, if you'd like to take a look. And then we have a large literary festival where we invite our youth to come up, read their works if they've been published, sign their books, and practice that public speaking and public presence. And so in this, again, it's a learning activity we want to encourage outside of school. We want to encourage creativity, build self-confidence, and for our teen advisory board, it's that leadership practice. We've got another fun picture of our guests eagerly awaiting our teen advisory board to bring our first author up. So this is our second year for our youth literary festival. It was the first year for our family art night, which is an open house style event that included a tiny art show, an exhibition from the Sun City Lincoln Hills Painters Club, as well as Toll Bridges High School photography students. It had a pizza dinner for card holders provided by the Friends of the Library. We had 5 individual art stations, live music, face painters, caricature artists. It was a blast. It's very well attended. We are conservatively estimating 500 people came. And again, this is about inviting people in. We made 90 library cards that evening. We typically make 250 new accounts a month. So we saw a lot of new faces in the library while encouraging creativity, self-expression, and confidence through those programs that we offered. And so with that, just to share some of the joy of that, these are a few of the over 200 community entries to our tiny art show, where residents could pick up a 3x3-inch canvas and decorate it and bring it in. And then anyone who attended could vote for their favorites. We also have just a brief glimpse of how many people were in the library that night. These are a lot of our lines waiting for face painting and our caricature artist. As I said, we had 5 different art stations. We sent our artworks home matted, so they looked like true art. Our young artists got to have that experience of seeing that in those mats and paper frames. We had individual art, and then on the far right, we have a collaborative art project that the Art League of Lincoln brought in for us to enjoy. And then finally, the last little bit is just our partners at the Art League of Lincoln, our friends of the library offering that pizza dinner, and then our Sun City Lincoln Hills Painters Club exhibition. So that was a fantastic evening. It was a really successful program, and we're excited to bring it back in the future. And finally, thank you one for this time, but I would be remiss to not also give my thanks. Our programming and events is made possible in large part by funding from the Friends of the Library. They're considering for next year funding over, I believe it's, I'm going to check my number here to make sure I do not get this wrong. Over $35,000 in funding just for library programs and events, just for the type of work that I'm talking about here. So we deeply appreciate that funding because we would not be able to do these kinds of things without their support for giveaway books, for craft materials, for any and everything that goes into these programs. And then I would also be deeply remiss to not give my thanks to my incredible staff who are truly both the brains and the hands behind these. We're very lucky. I'm very lucky to work with a team that is deeply committed to this city and doing interesting and exciting things through library services. And especially I have 2 staff members who are not able to be here tonight, but Sam Schlafer and Tony Jenkins, who really take the reins on these and make them happen. And we're very, very lucky and privileged to have their dedication here. So I owe them great thanks. So thank you so much. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Well, thank you, Catherine. And we owe you a great thanks because you do a phenomenal job. There's no other library director in the whole region like you. And we're very fortunate to have you. And you do have a great staff, and our volunteers and the Friends of Lincoln Library. We are blessed to have the facility and the programs that we do. And I know the times I've been able to come in and read to the kids, it is so fun. It's so great to just be there and participate in those programs. So thank you very, very much for that. And that was a great presentation. Any comments or questions from council?
I just want to echo that same thing that Holly says as far as what you do and your staff for the community. And I've heard from several other people that they feel the exact same way, that we're extremely lucky to have you and your staff here. And it shows by the presentation. So thank you.
Thank you. And the fact that you're up over COVID, pre-COVID numbers is just really amazing, or very close to it. I think that's just, it's very cool. Yeah, Bill.
Yeah, I want to thank you. I mean, my family does use your library, and we appreciate the service you provide.
Thank you so much. Thank you, all of you.
It's a presentation, so we don't normally do public comment, but is there anybody in the audience that would like to make a comment or ask Catherine a question about library services or hours or anything like that, or how you can volunteer? No? Anybody online? Okay. Thank you, Catherine. We appreciate you so much. And before we move on any further, I'm going to throw it over to Nita. You probably also mentioned that Mr. Scully is absent tonight. He's home with a bottle of NyQuil, not feeling that great. And so our acting city manager and finance director, Nita Racker, is here. And I'm going to give her the privilege of introducing our brand new engineer, Vin Kate. We're very excited.
Thank you. We just wanted to take a moment to introduce to the city our new city engineer, Vin Kay. We're very excited and very fortunate to have him with the city. He's been with us just a little bit over 2 weeks now, but Vin has over several decades of experience as an engineer and working for municipal agencies for, well, I don't know, I guess it's over, 10, 15 years in municipal agencies now? 20 years in municipal agencies. So most recently with Yolo County, but prior to that, you're right, 20 years with the city of West Sacramento. I have it right here in my notes. So, but we're very excited to have him be part of the Lincoln family. He brings an incredible breadth of experience and some incredible leadership skills. And I know that the engineering department is excited to have a full-time leader, and Travis is still on board with the city doing the transition and handoff. He's not going anywhere, but we do appreciate having been with us. Thank you so much.
Ben, would you like to say anything, or you're going to be shy? Go ahead and turn your mic on. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Nita. Good evening, council members. I'm very happy to be here. I'm very much looking forward to, I know this is the beginning of my third week. I'm already deep into many conversations and, various projects. But what I've observed so far, you have an amazing team here. You have incredible staff. And I think Sean has assembled a very talented leadership team. So I'm just happy to be part of it and looking forward to doing great things for the city of Lincoln. Yep.
Thank you very much. We're very happy to have you. All right, okay. We will move on to item number 7, public comment. This is the time in the agenda where we give the public an opportunity to speak on items not on the agenda. We cannot take any action or really speak to it, but what we can do is take notes, have staff address it if we can. If not, get back to you later, but we're happy to hear any of your comments that are not on the agenda. And so we'll start with the cards that I have here first. And the first one up is Dawn Beltry. Hi, Dawn, it's good to see you. Welcome.
Can I put this down? Just so
Yep,
I
you
see
sure
if that
can.
is-
I think it just goes straight down. There you go.
Thank you for this time. Thank you. First, I didn't come up before, but thank you to the library. We use it. My granddaughter and I go to read to the dogs because she has a hard time reading, but she'll read to the dogs.
That's
So
amazing.
thank you for that. That's awesome. But I also come here as a community update as requested by Councilmember Brown months ago. I was reflecting that I've been here since February 14th. Valentine's Day was the first time
Oh.
I've come. And I continue. So I appreciate the opportunity to be heard. And I want to wish everyone a happy pre-Thanksgiving before we get moving.
Thank you.
I wanted to say about the homeless is what I'm here to share on the community update around my neighborhood, which is where the post office is off of Gateway Drive. We've had a lot of great progress. Thank you so much. As you know, Christine is just phenomenal and so is Sean. We had the fence put up, but I'm still awaiting to wonder. We had questioned about the height of the fence. When it was first brought to the council, it was supposed to be 7 feet. And when it went up, it was 5 feet. And I had emailed quite a few times to ask about that and haven't heard anything. So I didn't know if there was any update on that. Also, same with the traffic officer. I've emailed quite a few times about the traffic and the parking. After the fence went up, it has increased with the amount of cars from the homeless population. I actually come home very angst when I drive home as I come down Gateway Drive and I count the amount of cars that are there. And it's not from businesses, it's the same cars. And the amount of trash that is there and the amount of activity that is there on the weekends. So just wanted to share updates about that. Also, I know that there was a lot of effort and time put forth in trying to make the homeless population sites a 10 by 10, and I know it's still being worked on. So what I really come here for is to ask the city council to please continue and the police department to please continue to support these efforts in decreasing that homeless population around, well, really everywhere. Obviously, we're trying to reach out to help that population, but to decrease it really at that Gateway Drive area. The reason why I know that the city council can do many things is because recently many people have maybe noticed about on Lincoln Boulevard, right by the tracks, many cars were parking there overnight. And then within a month to 2 months, all of a sudden there's parking signs up there saying you can't park there. So I know that things can be moved and going forward. So I'm once again asking for that support from the police department to continue to come. I was told from my neighbors, because I'm at work, that the parole officers come at least once a week. So I'm hoping that that will continue. I'm just afraid that if I don't come and talk, that things kind of go by the wayside because it's not the squeaky wheel anymore. So I just kind of wanted to bring to our attention, those still are very much concerns within our neighborhood and within our community. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Dawn. I'm going to do all the comments and then we'll have them respond to that. But I can tell you though, that we love having you come, but you don't need to worry that you're not the squeaky wheel and things won't get happen. This isn't something that we're going to turn our eyes to and be like, oh, we forgot about it, right? It's an ongoing process. So you can rest assured that it's on the forefront of our minds and our projects, but feel free to come anytime and give us updates because we like hearing from you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
And I've also said that that homeless is never going to be, it'll never be gone, right? So it'll always be something that we need to continue with forever, right?
You bet.
So,
and sharing with me what I can do to help.
Right. And it changes all the time, needs change all the time too. So without having that constant, hey, this is what's going on now, so we can continue to adjust.
Yep. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next up is Joy Damien. Well, you can speak at one at a time. Pamela?
Yes.
Sure.
Good evening. Thank you for giving me the time to do this. I'm a resident of Placer County. And I just have a concern with a road issue at the corner of 12 Bridges, Lincoln Boulevard, and Industrial. I also work at Thunder Valley Casino, and that road is traveled numerously, not a lot of cars going through there, and we have the landfill and people at the casino. And I've called the city several times. I guess Public Works is who I probably talked to about repairing it, and I've gotten many different things, just ignoring it. So I just think for safety and everything, it needs to be addressed. And then people tend to turn left to go to Thunder Valley, and they tend to go into the oncoming traffic so they can avoid that special or that road condition. Yes. Okay.
Thank you very much. for
Thank
that.
you.
Appreciate it. Joy, would you still like to speak?
My name's Joy Damien. I manage apartments down in Rockland, live in Rockland. I just want to second her issue, second her concern. My daughter works at Thunder Valley. She doesn't drive a brand new car. She drives an older car, and we just got the tires replaced, but it's not always the case. So when she's turning left on that certain spot, I know she's sliding, new driver. So again, it's our concern that the road get repaired.
Thank you very
Uh-huh.
much. Appreciate that. Okay, Go ahead.
Of the road.
oh, I know
So-
what it looks like.
Oh,
yeah.
okay,
I mean, you're welcome to give it to us,
Oh,
but we know
you know
very well what
exactly
it,
where it
I
is?
know
Okay.
exactly.
All
Yeah,
right.
I was over
I
there
just
this
drove over it
morning.
the other day and I had the same thought. Oh my gosh. So thank you. Okay, Peggy, you're next.
Thank you, City Council, for listening and hopefully understanding my dilemma. I actually think I would have preferred to given my presentation to the entire council, so I could come back again another time. But at this point, I am pleased that Ms. Molenkoff is here and that the chief is here, because they're really about that, but I need the council support on the issue. The issue is noise ordinance. And I've done a lot of work. I can tell you that in 9 years with the Lincoln Theater Company, I've been playing this game with noise ordinance from the Veterans Hall for over 9 years. It's a very, very big issue for any of us using the Lincoln City Theater. So I'd like to explain to you the issues. When we have a theater that has 150 patrons inside that have all paid plenty of money to get in there and see this show, they do not want to be disturbed by the noises coming from the bands, specifically from the Veterans Hall. I've gone to the veterans, I've gone to the Placer County, I've gone to Shanti Landon, and I've gone to Christina Faria, and I'd like to just let you know, this is where we stand. A few weeks back, we were finishing up Fiddler on the Roof as an example. And in that, the band was so incredibly loud that it was disturbing. I have patrons that have asked for their money back. Those are damages to us. So what I've done is I've contacted Shanti. She's delivered me to Christina, and we've worked together. I've spoken to the veterans building management. They have accepted our explanations of things. They have changed their ordinance for the building. And it includes, it's kicking it off to the city of Lincoln. It has its little, I can share it with you, very simple. Users must adhere to all local ordinances. Event attendees are expected to remain within the boundaries of the facility and not cause nuisance to surrounding businesses or residents. Very simple. that kicks it back to Lincoln Police Department, which, by the way, I have called on numerous occasions, including a few weeks ago. According to your ordinances on your website, and Christine, correct me if any of this is incorrect, it's unlawful for any person, firm, or corporation to operate or employ any sound system, amplified devices, radio, loudspeaker, radio, jukebox, blah, 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 mechanical devices or that emits sound waves at any time during the day, any time, that's matinees or evening, in any manner so that any sound emitted therefore is audible to a person of average hearing faculties or capacity at a distance of more than 25 feet from the source of the sound. I have an example to show you.
Is that something that you can pass out to us, or is it,
This?
oh, you said send
No,
to
I
show
have
us?
something I want to show you.
Okay.
I want you to hear it very briefly. I promise you, we're only talking seconds. Well, I'm technically I could say that, but I'm not sure now. This is from across the street. This is on my little phone. This is how loud it is across the street from this Veterans Building. So imagine what's happening inside our building.
Okay.
There are others. This is the worst. This is between the two buildings. Come on. Why is this? Okay. I have another one, but I'll
But we
leave
get
that.
the idea, Peggy. Thank you.
You get the point.
We get the point.
Okay,
Yep.
so what I'd like to just ask, your ordinance has two different independent standards. One for determining whether a violation of the ordinance occurs. The first is whether the noise can be heard by an average person 25 feet away. The second is, well, I have to go back and read that. In any manner or so, the sound emitted thereby travel is carried and projected into any public street, sidewalk, alley, or place. It cannot go past the building.
Okay. So
That
you're-
being
so
said-
Go ahead and wrap up real quickly, and then I'll make a quick comment. Your time has been up for a while, so.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, I had her turn it off so you
One
can
little second,
finish.
one
Okay,
little
real
second.
quickly.
The ordinance has two different dependent standards to determine whether a violation has occurred. One is at 25 feet away, and the second one, which is applicable here, is whether the sound is projected onto a public street, sidewalk, alley, or other private property, which would include the civic auditorium. It is the second standard that's being clearly violated here. And what the three things that I'd like you to consider is and I have contacted Christine, the problem we have is our shows are on the weekend. And I understand that she's not working on the weekend, nor is anybody else. So
Okay.
the only option I have is PD. And I called them
Okay.
and they did nothing.
Okay, so I'm gonna have staff address that in just a second. So I appreciate you bringing that to us. I didn't realize that was a problem for you, so I'm gonna have them address it in just a second. The only comment I want to make to you, Peggy, is you're well within your rights to go to Shanti Landon and Christina Faria, but this is not their jurisdiction. There's nothing that they can do to.
But it
Yes.
is their building.
Oh,
they
it's their
took it
building.
on.
Oh,
And they took it on as their responsibility
okay, I
to
stand
change
corrected.
the ordinance.
I forgot about that. I stand corrected. Okay. Well, so I'll have them address it in just a second,
Okay.
but thank you for bringing that.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you. So I stand correct. I forgot it was their building. Yeah. Okay. Is there anybody else in the room that did not fill out a card that would like to make a public comment on something not on the agenda? Okay, anybody on Zoom?
Yes, Mayor. Melanie B., please go ahead.
Yes, good evening, council, and happy Thanksgiving time. I wanted to just comment on, I guess, a follow-up question about the Richmond American development and just see if agreements had been put in place, or where the status of that neighborhood's issue is. And then secondly, it's my understanding that the 12 Bridges Park is going to have a couple ball fields put in. But I'm curious if what the city plans are to put additional ball fields for our Little League players as our city grows. We're at capacity now with ball fields, and we need a couple more, especially one for the older kids to play in. So just wanted to see if there was any status on additional ball fields out there.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
Yes, Fran Neves, please go ahead.
Hi. Am I on there?
Yeah, hi,
Yes.
Fran, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, first I'd like to congratulate Bill on getting married. Congratulations. And second, I'd like to say, I noticed there was a red no right turn signal on Athens and Industrial at the railroad tracks, a great big one like that. And I'm wondering if we can put one like that at Ferrari Ranch, you know, at the railroad tracks, a big, bright, no right red turn there. Okay, you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And the other thing is, I was really surprised when I saw that Oak Tree Lane was going to double back to 193 instead of going to Sierra College. And I'm just so surprised it's going to be displacing the two people who own the land there, who've been there, you know, since the 1800s. And I just don't know why the city had changed. Well, I'm sure it's about money, because it looks like if you go to Sierra College, you'd have to go over a creek and you have to build a bridge or something like that. So I'm just really sorry to see that Oak Tree Lane is coming back to 193 instead of going to Sierra College like it was planned. And speaking of that, that signal light on Sierra College is operating, even though there is nothing there, you know, between 193 and between, it's Sage or something. Here's this big green light, big red light, no houses, no nothing. And Oak Tree Lane at 193 still has thousands of people going there. And now in the dark, you know, no signal light. And I just really wish the city could get on that. And, you know, it's a squeaky wheel. So I'm just going to bring it up again. But we really need that signal light at Oak Tree Lane and 193. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Fran.
All right, where?
Anybody else, Gwen?
No, no other hands are
Okay,
raised.
great. Thank you. All right, so let's start at the top, and whoever can handle each one and just briefly address each thing. So Christine, go ahead and address the homeless questions.
Certainly. Ms. Veltra had some questions about traffic and parking on Gateway. Rest assured that our engineering department is taking a look at doing a couple of things. One of which is marking the curb red at the end of the fence that was installed, because we've noticed that that's the closest to where the Dutch Bros Coffee should be going in. Because we've noticed that people are stopping there and offloading and onloading, and which kind of defeats the whole purpose of the fence. We are also evaluating a 12-hour parking area along that section of the road, which would prohibit parking between 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. We're just trying to be very thoughtful about it, because we don't want to then push these homeless vehicles to we're trying to be strategic about it so that they don't just end up in some other neighborhood and we have yet another problem that we have to deal with just in another part of town. The good news is that the Flocini side, where we had some very, very large encampments, has been completely cleared. It's been posted. And we have not had any recidivists. The problem is a lot of them have then moved over to the medical building side. But code enforcement, probation, the police department is working very diligently to work to enforce the 10 by 10 rule. It's challenging. But we do have a dedicated team of probation, the police department, and code enforcement. Code enforcement is out there at least twice a week under my supervision. The police department is there as needed. Probation is there at least weekly. And then once a month, we have a planned sort of strategic team that goes out and works that issue. And so we're making a lot of progress. I know it's frustrating. We have talked about the winter shelter. We will again be doing the winter emergency shelter at McBean, the covered area of McBean on a temporary basis. It is not a permanent shelter, but it will be based on weather conditions and the cold. And then the good news is that our temporary housing program is up and running. Our 2 residents that have been selected by our community team that is volunteering and working with these members, moved them in this past weekend. And so they are in and they are being worked and they are getting their job assignments, their volunteer assignments. And so that all seems to be going well so far. And so we'll keep you posted as far as that goes on.
Thank you. What about the question about the fence height?
Yeah,
I was
so
just
we-
gonna say that I think we'll need to research that further, but I'm not sure there would be a way to heighten the existing fence. I think it would be tearing it out and starting all
Right, and we-
over.
yeah, we don't.
So, and I think I have information on most of the other questions, but a few others that we'll toss to other people.
Okay, great.
If we're ready to move on.
Yeah, go ahead.
Regarding the question about 12 Bridges, Lincoln Boulevard and Industrial, we did just award a contract to resurface some of the worst areas, I'll say, of those sections of road. And we're hoping to get that scheduled and underway soon.
Awesome, thank you.
So we got that one handled. And then for the noise around the Veterans Hall, that is challenging. And I believe Matt, Chief Alves, wanted to make some comments about it.
Yeah, so one of the main issues with that Veterans Hall is jurisdiction.
Right.
So the County of Placer owns 2 properties within the city of Lincoln that they have full jurisdiction over. That is the courtyard over on Oak Tree Lane and the Veterans Hall.
Right.
Any calls for service need to be made to the Placer County Sheriff's Department, and they would be the one enforcing ordinances or crimes that are occurring on those properties. So we have no authority on those lands, and we have an MOU with the County of Placer agreeing to that.
Okay.
And they are still, they still have to abide by the ordinances that she had talked about for the city of Lincoln.
I need to
right?
talk to Christine about that. They would be, my guess would be, they would fall under county ordinances.
They are their own autonomous agency. And just on the note of the city's noise ordinance, the 25-foot rule, that is an ordinance that was enacted in 1952. I would dare anyone to stand anywhere in the city of Lincoln when a train comes through where you're not standing more than 25 feet away and you can't hear it. The ordinance is not sustainable. Chief Alves and I have talked about the different ways that we could create a noise ordinance that would be enforceable. The problem with that is that under case law and the statutes, in order to have an enforceable noise ordinance, it's not the noise at any one given moment in time. It's the noise over a 24-hour period and whether it reaches a certain threshold. And so it makes it extremely difficult when a police officer rolls up and there may be noise and they ask them to turn it down. There's no way for them to validate that it has been a sustained noise level. Those noise ordinances are really written for industrial buildings that have, large equipment and that have, greenhouses, those types of things that have equipment that are running on a continual and constant basis. So other than enforcing a nuisance ordinance, there's really not a lot that the city of Lincoln that we've been able to put our heads together and come up with that we think would be a workable solution.
Okay, I'm gonna exercise a little bit of privilege here, and I'm gonna ask Peggy a question, and you can come up and answer if you want to. And again, I totally forgot that the county took up, so I apologize for my mistake, but what has Supervisor Landon come back to you with? Has she given you any information about that, or are they just working on it?
No, they're not working on it any longer. It didn't take them but more than a day to have it done. What they did was, I had already gone to the Veterans Building
Yeah.
and had a meeting with them, and I have the minutes of our meeting there. This was like 6 months ago or more. And they decided that they agreed it's a nuisance, and that is the issue. It's a nuisance. Difference between a sound and a nuisance. It's a nuisance to me. It's a nuisance to anybody on the street who doesn't want it in their face. And so if you want any, Bill was at that same exact night. He can explain everything as well beyond me.
Well, no, I understand what you're saying. So they wrote an ordinance?
They amended their ordinance to talk about the nuisance issue. And then it follows right in line with the city. The city talks about it being a nuisance. The point is, if you just say, oh, it's loud and oh, it's always loud, and we have to stop this. Lincoln Theater Company rents the building from the city.
Okay,
We have every right to have the ability to stay there.
How's the county communicated with the VFW and American Legion and the ones who are
Oh, yeah.
running? Okay.
Absolutely. In fact, today she wrote it. I asked him, I want to know if the rules have been put on their contract. When
Okay.
they signed the contract, I did not know whether it had been, if the rules were clear to them, that they had to keep it within.
Okay.
But let me finish
Go
that
ahead.
one line.
Yeah, go ahead.
They did do that. They do sign for it. Yes, it's a city building on county, it's a county building on city land. Yes, it is.
It's county land.
County land, yeah.
When did that happen? Because when I moved here, it was city land.
Decades ago.
Yeah, no. Anyway, who's ever building it is, they need to fix it, and they did. Now, what they've done is say, so nobody's going to come out, the sheriff's not going to come out to Lincoln. They're not.
Well, what I'll do, Peggy, is
Right.
I'll follow up with Supervisor Landon myself and I'll talk to her and find out what the plan is. And then I'll get back to you
The
on that.
plan is, it's a city ordinance now.
Okay.
It's the city problem. Plan is, they've kicked it over to the city. When I call the police department, as I do every single time, they come out, they try to get them to turn it down. They don't turn it down, or maybe they do, and then they turn it back up again. And what the police department tells me is, there's nothing I can do, ma'am. You need to go back in your building and endure it. Words out of his mouth. Okay. I went back in, I complied with them, but they don't comply with the city's ordinance.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. And I'll follow up with Supervisor Landon. Thank you. Okay, let's go to Melanie Burchard's question about Richmond. As far as I know, they're making good progress on the repairs and getting the houses up to standard. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll say that, building and planning are still continuing their direct communication between Richland and its customers. And that engineering is working on the punch lists directly with the owners to make sure, so we are still on top of making sure that the homeowners are being taken care of.
Okay. And as far as the other question about ball fields, we are continually working with the Park and Rec and the building and all that of designing more fields, getting more fields. Like it's an ongoing issue, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
and just for clarification, that 12 Bridges Park is still in master plan stage. Nothing has been decided, nothing set in stone just yet. But yeah, we are, ball fields are one of the more needed facilities
Right.
throughout the city for the future parks.
Right.
So it is on the top of the list of things to be
Exactly.
included in
And
parks.
we're well aware of it, right? Yeah. Okay, and then lastly, Fran's comment about the red no right turn at Ferrari Ranch at the tracks and then the Oak Tree Lane light.
So the no right turn is what's called a blank out sign, and it is currently under review by engineering.
And then what about, anybody want to answer the Oak Tree Lane thing, which I know we talked about that at a council meeting.
What's springtime is.
Yes,
what-
springtime.
Yeah.
Okay, great, awesome. Hey, thank you very much for that. I really appreciate it. Moving on to the consent agenda. All matters on the consent agenda are considered routine business and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a member of the city council or resident requests a specific item be removed from the consent agenda for separate action. Any items removed will be considered after the remainder of the consent agenda. I am going to pull 8D because I just have a question before we vote on that. Are there any other items that council would like to pull? Anybody from the public wish to pull an item? Okay, all right. So I will take a motion to accept the rest of the consent agenda.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Yes, Councilmember Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Lauritsen,
Yes.
and Acting Mayor Andriotta.
Yes. Okay, so my question about 8D, adopting resolution 2023-191, approving the theme and naming committee's recommended park names for two parks at Liberty, in the Liberty at Lincoln neighborhood. It's not that I object to the names. I like them and I like the reasons why they were chosen. But this was on our agenda before and it got moved because it was my understanding that Lewis Plan Communities wanted to have some kind of conversation about the names, wanting to continue with a theme of the development but they haven't changed. So can you speak to that?
Yes, I can. So I communicated to Phil Rodriguez
Yeah.
and explained, the rationale for the parks names. And there was no response, so I'm assuming that he's fine with it. I laid out the reasons why, and there's, good rationale for the
Yeah.
name. So the tank, I would just voice my appreciation. They're a volunteer group that donate their time to, comb over the city archives and really dig into some good names. So
Yeah.
appreciate their
Yeah, I
service.
really like the names and I like the rationale behind them. I just wanted to make sure we had given them an opportunity to weigh in on it.
Yeah, he's had about a month now, I think, to
Okay.
respond, so I've heard nothing.
And
Oh.
in previous conversations with Phil Rodriguez, I'll say that they wanted to be part of that conversation, but they didn't voice any objections to the name. It's just going forward, we'll make sure that we include them on the front end.
Great, I appreciate that. Great, okay. Council, do you have any questions on this? Anybody in the public have a question or comment about this? Okay, I will take a motion to approve item 8D.
I'll motion.
Okay, roll call.
Yes, Councilmember Lauritsen.
Yes.
Councilmember Brown.
Yes.
Acting Mayor Andriotta.
Yes. Okay, thank you for that. I appreciate it. All right. Item number 9, public hearing. Item 9A, as I stated earlier, we're going to, I'm going to open the public hearing on this, and then we're going to continue this to the second meeting in January at the request of staff.
9A, right?
9A, yes. Yes, if I said it wrong, I'm sorry, 9A. And then just so I'm clear, do I need to allow for comment first and then close it? Okay. If there's any public comment on 9A, I'll go ahead and read it. Public hearing to consider waiving the first reading and introduced by title only ordinance 1071B, amending sections of the Lincoln Municipal Code Title 13 Public Services regarding water connection charges and further finding the ordinance is exempt from environmental review under CEQA. So is there any comment or testimony on this? Okay, seeing none, I will close the public hearing and we will bring this back in the second meeting in January. Okay, thank you. All right, moving right along to item 9B. We're going to conduct a public hearing to consider waiving the first reading and introduced by title only ordinance 1072B, adopting proposed amendments to Title 18 zoning to prohibit future drive-through facilities in the Lincoln downtown area and determine that the drive-through facilities in the downtown item is not a project under section 15378 of the California Environmental Quality Act guidelines. The proposed amendment will include amendments to subsection 18.22.030 conditional use and add chapter 18.03 definitions to title 18 zoning. And our senior planner, Efren Sanchez, is going to give us the staff report.
Hi, yes,
Hi.
thank you. Good evening, City Council members, Efren Sanchez, Senior Planner with Community Development Department. The item we have before you is a public hearing to consider a recommendation by the Planning Commission to prohibit drive-through facilities in downtown Lincoln via zoning ordinance amendment. A little bit of background, currently Title 18 zoning conditionally allows drive-through facilities in commercial districts subject to an issuance of a conditional use permit by the Planning Commission. However, this conditional land use has become an important issue at Planning Commission hearings as members of the public have voiced their dislike and opposition to recent drive-through projects, which has prompted staff to step in with some code changes. Staff had 3 public meetings with the Planning Commission. In May, staff conducted a workshop with the Planning Commission to discuss the issues associated with drive-through facilities. The overall consensus from the Planning Commission was to direct staff to come back with a resolution to prohibit drive-throughs facilities in downtown. In June, staff requested the Planning Commission adopt the resolution. However, the PC had additional questions and clarifications. Therefore, we came back, and in August, we came back to the PC and with additional clarification and revisions to the resolution as outlined in the staff report. Ultimately, the PC voted to approve the resolution to recommend the City Council adopt the zoning ordinance amendment that would prohibit drive-through facilities in downtown. Some of the findings: currently, the development centers that exist reside outside of Title 18 in the Design Criteria and Procedures Manual for drive-throughs. Drive-throughs are subject to stringent requirements by development engineering, who verify minimum required road depths, driveway orientation, and vehicle queuing. Drive-through facilities are not compatible land uses for downtown as they do not function adequately within compact commercial lots that have a higher potential for creating queuing and traffic issues. For example, a drive-through facility for restaurants require a minimum of 10 vehicle queuing spaces, and each queuing space equates to 25 feet. Therefore, a new drive-through facility would require a queuing capacity of 250 feet. It is difficult to achieve this as the typical lot width dimension in downtown ranges between 50 to 200 feet. The bottom line is that the lots in downtown are smaller and are not designed to accommodate the space needed for queuing drive-through vehicles. This increases the chances for circulation issues as vehicles in drive-through lanes have to be monitored constantly to avoid spillover onto public streets. The drive-through prohibition would apply to commercial zones in the downtown and not the commercial zones highlighted in red outside of downtown. So this is a slide of the zoning map, and the downtown area is just indicated in this area here. And I have a further exhibit later on in the PowerPoint that goes over this a little bit more clearly. Staff and the BC have aligned the downtown area to what is outlined in the Downtown Urban Design Plan. Drive-through facilities are not supported by the Downtown Urban Design Plan as they conflict with the vision of a pedestrian activated downtown. According to the Downtown Urban Design Plan, District 1 is well suited for accommodating small cafes, sandwich shops, and specialty restaurants. It is not well suited for handling the demands of larger highway-oriented restaurants or fast food franchise outlets. It seems that auto-oriented businesses such as drive-through facilities no longer serve downtown Lincoln, as the Highway 65 bypass of 2012 moved the highway away from downtown. Therefore, the prohibiting this type of use is the next logical step towards helping implement the vision for downtown Lincoln. And again, this is from the Downtown Urban Design Plan that was originally drafted in 1992, and the redistricting map was done in 2004. The actual amendment to Title 18 would look like what is listed on the screen. The underline and footnote text is the proposed change. During the June PC, one of the concerns was that Title 18 does not currently define drive-through facilities. Therefore, staff revised the resolution and subsequent ordinance to include Chapter 18.03 definitions. Drive-through facilities would be the first land use term to be defined under the new definition subsection. All for future land use definitions would also be added here alphabetically as well. The proposed amendments to prohibit drive-through facilities in downtown include will not be detrimental to public health, safety, peace, or general welfare of the city. This is what the Downtown Urban Design Plan looks like layered on top of Google Earth. This is also the area where future drive-through facilities would be prohibited.
Efren, in the brown part, is that what you're talking about?
And the entire thing, so
okay.
all the colored.
All the color, okay.
Yeah. It's just
Those are different
1.6.
districts, yeah.
Gotcha. Nice.
The slide shows the existing drive-through facilities in downtown. These existing drive-throughs will become legal non-conforming uses and would be protected under Chapter 18.48. This means that they would be allowed to continue with their operation. The businesses that lose their protected non-conforming status, if the business, for example, stops the operation of the drive-through component for more than 12 months. So they would have their legal non-conforming status protection, but if, for example, they stop operating for more than 12 months, then their legal non-conforming goes away, and so they would no longer be allowed to operate as a drive-through. This image helps illustrate how auto-dependent our society has become. We now have an opportunity to change what our downtown looks like moving forward. So, this leads us to our recommendation. Staff recommends that the City Council adopt an ordinance detailing the actions recommended by the Planning Commission. One, determine that the drive-through facility in downtown item is not a project under CEQA. And two, adopt an ordinance amendment that will prohibit future drive-through facilities in downtown Lincoln area. This concludes my presentations. Please let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you so much. Okay, any questions from council before I open the public hearing?
That grandfather in it, so let's say one of them moves out and it becomes vacant. I think I heard that as long as another tenant moves in within that year, they keep that grandfathered in. But if it's if it's longer than a year, if someone moves in, then they cannot use that as a drive-through. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. I outlined that in the staff report, but basically like how you mentioned, you know, if, for example, you have existing Burger King that wants to sell to a Wendy's and they just sell and like redo it, you know what I mean, to a Wendy's or another example of a drive-through.
Yeah.
As long as the drive-through doesn't cease to operate within the 12-month span, then that new tenant can go in there.
Bill, any questions? Okay. All right, let's open public hearing. And are there any testimonies from anybody in the room or on Zoom?
No one on Zoom.
Okay, anybody? Go ahead. Well, that's not in downtown,
But it's grandfathered in.
but it's already entitled and approved. Yes. Good question, though. Yeah. I know everyone's talking about Dutch Brothers. Yeah. Any other questions? No, seeing none. Okay. Close the public hearing, bring it back to council. I'm 100% in favor of this. I think while the work that we're doing on our downtown plan and preserving what we want it to look like, we should have some more say of, you know, what comes in. I know people have mentioned, you know, let's put a Starbucks there, and I'm like, absolutely not. So I am 100% in agreement with this, and I'm ready to support it if there's no other questions or comments. No? Okay, then I will accept a motion for item 9B.
I move to adopt 9B.
A second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Yes, Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Lauritsen?
Yes.
Acting Mayor Andriotta?
Yes, and thank you, staff, for all your work on this. We really appreciate it. Yes, thank you. All right, so item 10, general business, we do not have any tonight. Item 11, city managers report. Nita, do you have anything that you want to share tonight?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think we
covered
did.
it all
Yes, you're
during
right.
public comment.
Cool. Okay. Any council initiated business? Any other have, yeah? No? Yes? You look like you're gonna say something.
Yeah, I was just thinking that I really felt for Peggy with what she had going on with the theater. I don't know if it needs to be council initiated business, but I think that we need to figure out something that we can.
Well,
There's
we
gotta
did
be something we can
we've
do.
been looking at the MOU while we were discussing this item, and the MOU that we have with Placer County for that building, since it is their building, clearly states that the sheriff has jurisdiction inside and outside of the building. So it really is contacting the sheriff's department. The sheriff does come into the city limits when they are needed. And so it really goes back to the county and the sheriff. Yes, it is our ordinance, but it's like Christine said, it's like they're an island within the city. And they have their own jurisdiction there.
But the building that they're renting is city building.
Yeah, and I believe that there have been upgrades made to that as far as sound protections,
That's
but
what I was, my next question was gonna
but
be.
not to the veterans building. So it's, you know, the
It's
sound
formerly
protection on one
done to
side, but not
ours.
on the other side.
And there probably wouldn't be anything else we could do to our building to try to help out in that regard.
Probably
We
not.
can take a look at it, but yeah, I don't know that there is.
But,
Maybe we should just look at it.
Oh, yeah, we will take a look at it for sure.
thank you. And I am going to follow up with Supervisor Landon and make sure she communicates with Placer County Sheriff that this is in their purview and not to just blow it off if they're
Maybe
called.
We can talk with
Yes.
Landon about
Yes.
also doing some.
Doing some
roofing
work on their building, yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So thank you. I appreciate, yeah, I feel for Peggy and Lincoln Theater Company as well.
It is sort of annoying sometimes.
Yeah.
I know, I'm an usher and people
Hear it
complain.
come through, yeah.
You can hear it come through. The only thing I can think of on our side is to put some kind of sound deadening against the wall, our wall, because we can't do it on their wall.
Mhm.
And maybe that door, you know, to a certain extent.
Yeah, we'll look into it for sure.
Bill, did you have any initiated business? Okay. Committee reports. So I did want to have Councilmember Brown and I report on Placer Business Alliance, but I'm thinking, and if you don't mind, I'd rather wait till our colleagues are back and Sean is back, because that way we can all discuss what we, the program was really good, but we'll wait. And then I wanted to, so I've been filling in for Dan on the Waste Management Authority, the dump, the WAPMA. I know Mayor Joyner hates that. But, right now, they are in the process of beginning a recruitment for a general manager, because the authority is in the process of moving out from under the umbrella of the county in many aspects. So we've started that process. And we also had a conversation last week about the makeup of the board. Right now, there's 2 county seats and 1 seat for Lincoln, Roseville, Rockland. But with Roseville making moves to either reduce some of their flow, or they're going to stay, they're not going to stay, that affects rates for everybody. And so the discussion was, well, they're the biggest user, so they should get 2 seats on the board. We had a long conversation about it, and we came to a conclusion that staff is going to bring back more information about having a 4-person board and have the county have 1 seat and then the jurisdictions have 1. Nothing has been decided yet, but wasn't all in favor of Roseville having 2 seats. And then if the flow lessens, then they lose a seat, and possibly Lincoln could have 2 seats. And it's just, that's ridiculous in my opinion. So we're discussing what that looks like. And if so, they would need to do an amendment to the JPA because of the board makeup. And I think that's all I have for committee reports. Did you have anything?
The Sheridan Mac they didn't hold it. They actually had a meat Shantyland and candy
Right.
cake thing instead. So
Okay,
they're
all right.
working on
And Catherine, we apologize for missing the lab black again. Yeah, life is crazy, and so I apologize for that. But you're doing great work, and you seem to be doing fine without us being there, so. Information items, I just
Wait a
want,
minute.
oh, I'm sorry,
Committee,
go ahead, I'm sorry, I
The
apologize.
Titan Committee still exists.
Oh, yeah.
We're still trying to come up with a meeting with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineer Regional Director. Sean's working on it. We're also working with Ed Heidick from the Congressman's office. So we're
Ed is very responsive. Good. Thank you for that. And then lastly, information items. I just wanted to remind everybody that this Thursday, the 16th, is the annual turkey drive that Salt Mine and Lincoln Fire Department puts on. You can just drive through the fire station on Joyner Parkway and drop off your turkey. And so all of those go to the salt mine to help feed needy families, and part of them go to the Placer Food Bank to help the whole region. So it's a great event every year. Just grab a turkey or 2, drive through, drop it off, and it's a great help for our community. Do either of you have information items?
I do.
Yes,
You know,
sir.
On Saturday, there was a very moving ceremony with the Veterans Committee.
Yes.
My shout out goes to Don DeWitt and Gary Burns for a job well done with the other, and that's also with the other members of the Veterans Committee. It was very moving, and then had a flyover with planes.
That was good. Yeah. The VFW, the American Legion, and the Placer County Memorial Coalition, they do a great job celebrating Veterans Day and Memorial Day, and it was a good day out there. Thank you, Bill. All right.
And they unveiled several new plaque.
Yep. All right. Is there anything else? All right. Then we stand adjourned at 7:07. Thank you, everybody.